Hey, it's Irreverent Aegis here, and in this video I want to go over in detail how to tank the final hard mode in Veteran Stone Garden, Arkasis the Mad Alchemist. This fight is very tank heavy and also very healer heavy, so I do recommend bringing a good healer with you. You are going to take a ton of damage, whether it's fire damage, poison damage, direct damage, or damage over time. You take it all and you take a lot of it. Resource management in this fight is crucial. You will be spamming your self heals quite a bit, and you'll want to keep up all your buffs and as well as all of the debuffs. The assumption here is that you will have grabbed the more powerful version of each of the 3 alchemy buffs throughout the dungeon. Those are critical, especially for your first clear here. I do have recommendations for red and green CP. For red CP, we're going pretty balanced: 81 Ironclad, 56 Hardy, 56 Elemental Defender, 66 Thick-Skinned, and 11 Quick Recovery. And for the green CP, we are going with 72 Shadow Ward, 61 Tumbling, 27 Tenacity, 64 Arcanist, 37 Sprinter, and 9 Warlord. If you are going for your first clear here, I do have some recommended gear for you, and it is on the selfish side, simply due to the heavy survivability requirements. I do recommend one auto healing set, such as Battalion Defender or Leeching. My preference is Battalion Defender. Another set that gives minor Aegis. My preference is Eternal Yokita for the emergency heal, as well as the 100 ultimate, which is nice as a Necro with the Res ult. Yulnakrin's is good too. It's a little less selfish. It provides the solid group buff, but it does give you that minor Aegis. And I do recommend a sustain or healing monster helm, such as Stonekeeper, Engine Guardian, or Earthgore. As for my recommended jewelry traits, I do recommend all infused, and for your jewelry enchants, I do recommend 1 to 3 Magicka recovery glyphs, as keeping up your Magicka resource is really crucial for this fight. And if you're not going with all Magicka recovery glyphs, you can mess around with poison resistance, flame resistance, and block cost reduction glyphs to help you out with either survivability or with resource sustain. This is based on your preference, of course, after your Magicka recovery needs are met. For this fight, I do recommend a one-hand and shield front bar with an ice staff back bar. And no matter what class of tank you are, in general, I recommend the following skills for your front and back bar. So your front bar, a tank level heal, Ransack for the taunt and easy access to minor protection. It's very slot efficient. That way you don't need to slot another source of minor protection. Obviously, you'll want a source of major resolve as well. And I do recommend 2 damage mitigation skills. So defensive stance and deep slash are good options available to any class, or you can slot your class abilities that give you some damage mitigation as well. On the back bar, you'll need to have Charging Maneuver. This is really important for the run mechanic at the end of the fight for the entire group, so have a slot available for Charging Maneuver. Inner Rage for your range taunt, Wall of Element so you can keep applying, hopefully, your Crusher enchant on your bar, and then you have 2 flex spots as well. In terms of your ultimates, you can run Warhorn and then something selfish, so if you have Shield Discipline, for example, or a class ability that you like to use, that's fine as well. For all the footage you'll be seeing in this video, I will be using a Necromancer tank. So here are the specific skills that I use on that Necro tank. Front bar, Hungry Scythe for my heal, Deaden Pain for the 3% damage mitigation when it's slotted, as well as easy access to major protection. Ransack, Spirit Guardian for a little bit of healing, as well as the 10% damage mitigation, and then Summoner's Armor. On the back bar, I like to have Hungry Scythe on both bars personally, so I also back bar slot that as one of my flex spots. Charging Maneuver, Inner Rage, Wall of Elements, and Ghostly Embrace. Ghostly Embrace is a nice AoE maim. The ultimates that I use are Glacial Colossus for the extra damage and Renewing Animation for the instant res of any dead allies. This fight is broken up into 3 different main boss phases, as well as 2 werewolf behemoth phases. I promise after I go over phase 1, I will start showing you actual footage from the fight as well, so bear with me. Phase 1 is the fire phase, from 100% to 60% health. The adds, which will randomly be either a bristleback, a charis, or a durzog, they come out at 90%, 80%, and 70%. The idea is we're going to burn the adds when they spawn and try to avoid having multiple adds, because that would be very dangerous for the tank. It is best to dodge all the heavy attacks from Arkasis as well as the adds as the tank. They can all be blocked, but they do hurt. So the Bristleback's heavy attack is very strong, the Charis's heavy attack applies a very painful dot, and the Durzog's heavy attack is really quick, so if you have good reflexes, you'll be able to roll dodge that one as well. It doesn't hit as strong as the other one, so even if you have to block it, that's okay. Arkasis' heavy attack is a very slow heavy attack, but unlike in other dungeons where there are slow heavy attacks, this one won't hit you if you roll dodge a little bit early, so you have a little bit of wiggle room on that one. For the main mechanic in Phase 1 here, Arkasis will be putting fire all over the place. He also lights his weapon on fire during the fight, and his attacks, when it is on fire, will send a moving fire AoE towards the tank, and that kind of bounces around the map. Group members 1 and 2, which I'll go over a little bit later during the werewolf behemoth phase, should avoid using their ultimates as they'll want a full 500 for the werewolf behemoth phase. That's really important, so they should really hold on to their ultimates and not use them, really avoid using them at all costs. Alright, let's start showing you footage from Phase 1.
Until you die. Let's see how you react with fire.
At 60%, we're going to start the second phase of the fight, where we all turn into werewolf behemoths. So what's going to happen is he's going to put 4 potions on the ground at 60%. We're each going to grab one, and we'll start the werewolf behemoth phase. I'm going to show you footage from a little bit earlier in the dungeon that I captured so that I can show you the different skills available to you. First ability is a taunt, very important to taunt your stone husk. The second ability is a gap closer. Saves you some time, not crucial to use. The third ability, very important, it is a stun and interrupt. The fourth ability, again, not super useful, we don't really need to use it. The fifth ability, really important to use, it reduces your damage taken, makes you heal for 50% of the damage you do, and converts to another ability after 5 direct attacks. Does a ton of damage. And then the ultimate, very important to our rotation as well. Here is a quick description of what to do once you get into the werewolf behemoth phase. We go with a stack and burn strategy, which makes this so much easier than other strategies you may have come across where you separate them. This strategy makes the fight go much quicker and it is much less dangerous. So once you grab the transformation potion, you're going to activate ability 5 with RB if you're on Xbox. Then you're going to gap close your husk with ability 2 or Y. Then you're going to taunt it with ability 1 or X. Then while you're walking backwards, you're going to heavy attack until your husk is positioned on that carpet that we were holding that boss on in the beginning. Once it gets there, you're going to turn around and walk to the outside of the carpet so you are facing all of the husks that get centered there. And then once all those husks are grouped, the group is going to begin what I call the interrupt, ultimate, and ice breath rotation, and then you're going to watch them melt and you're going to ignore all the other mechanics. Of course, it's very important that everyone is assigned a husk before the fight begins. 2 people should go left, 2 people should go right, and then one of those people on each side should grab the closer husk and one should grab the further husk. But either way, we go with a stack and burn, so let me now go over the interrupt, ultimate, ice breath rotation. Before the fight starts, we're going to assign each group member a number 1 through 4. It's important that group members 1 and 2 save their ultimates to 500 and don't use them before this phase, as that will mess everything up. So anyway, each group member gets a number 1 through 4. Once all the husks are grouped on the carpet, group member 1 hits ability 3, or B, to interrupt, then follows that up by targeting the center of the carpet and hitting the ultimate ability. Group member 1 should say something like bash 1, ulti 1, and about at that pace as well. After that ultimate drops, group members 2, 3, and 4 should activate the synergy given by the ultimate. What that does is gives everyone that activates it 100 ultimate and 10 seconds of performing a critical hit with everything. Group members 3 and 4 should reactivate ability 5, which should have turned blue by then, to perform an AoE ice attack, while group member 2 should interrupt, then drop ultimate, saying bash 2 and ulti 2. Group member 2 can activate the ice breath after dropping the ultimate. The reason why the second group member should activate the ice breath after dropping the ultimate is because the ice breath attack takes several seconds to perform, and if that group member activates it before bashing and dropping the ultimate, we lose time and end up taking a lot of damage because we didn't get that bash early enough. So anyway, after group member 2 says bash 2 and then ulti 2, then that member can activate ice breath. Group member 1 should activate the synergy given by the ultimate from group member 2 and then perform the ice breath as well. After that happens, group member 3 should interrupt and then drop ultimate, saying bash 3, ulti 3. By then, all the husks should be dead, but if they're not, group member 4 should interrupt and then drop ultimate if needed. And if for some reason we did a bad group up, if the husks still aren't all dead after all 4, the interrupt rotation should be started again by group member 1. We may not have ultimates back by then, but as long as we interrupt 1, interrupt 2, interrupt 3, interrupt 4, we shouldn't have any issues with surviving. When people aren't activating abilities, they should just heavy attack, and when all the husks are dead, group members can activate abilities on the small adds to generate ultimate before the next phase begins. Alright, let's show you what this looks like in action. So once we turn into werewolves, it's crucial that we hit RB before we do really anything else. Then we go and taunt our husk, walking backwards, while heavy attacking until they reach the carpet. We walk to the outside, stack them. First person says bash 1, ulti 1. Second person says bash 2, ulti 2. Third person says bash 3, ulti 3. And pretty much they're dead, and I didn't even get to drop my ultimate. So that's essentially how fast that should go. That's the easiest strategy to do during that phase. Next we have the poison phase, and that's where we take our cases from 60 to 20%. The adds are going to come out at 50, 40, and 30%, and nothing really changes with the adds during this phase. Arkasis is still going to light his weapon on fire and send out a moving fire AoE, but his main mechanic, instead of lighting the entire map on fire, is now to switch to lighting the entire map up with poison. So he throws out 2 bottles that send poison AoEs everywhere. As the tank, you're just going to hold block this entire time to mitigate the damage and prevent yourself from getting stunned, and you're going to stack right on that same carpet. The DPS and the healer can position themselves by a pillar, so the poison is physically blocked from reaching them, or they can jump on the structure located above the stairs behind the tank, as the poison cannot reach there. They need to be careful there, as orbs, so the healing orb or the damage orb, they don't fall down from there, so they're useless, so if the tank needs some orbs, they cannot send them from there. And again, group members 1 and 2 should avoid using their ultimates because they'll need them for the second werewolf behemoth phase.
I love combustion! You may feel a burning sensation. Suffocate tonight, genius. You should never shake this. Oops. This will only hurt until you die. Suffocate tonight, genius. Let's see how you react with fire. Breathe deep. Let's see how you react with fire.
Once we reach 20%, we're going to get another werewolf behemoth phase, so we're going to get the potions again. One thing that I want to point out this time that I forgot to mention on the last werewolf phase is that the healer should be the last one to grab the transformation potion. The reason why is there will be lingering dots that should be healed through, and once everyone else transforms, the healer can transform. Werewolf Behemoth Part 2 works exactly the same way that Part 1 worked. We're going to stack them and burn them using the Interrupt Ultimate Ice Breath rotation. There is an additional mechanic here that we are going to completely ignore. If your screen goes gray, it technically means that you need to trade Taunt of your Husk with another group member or you'll die. However, with the stack and burn strategy, you can just ignore it as the Husks should all die before this even matters. So here is the actual footage from the second Werewolf Behemoth phase. Same thing, we're going to activate RB, we're going to go Taunt, we're going to position them all on the carpet. What I'm going to do though, I'll actually explain what we're bashing this time. You can see the green appearing above the head of the stone husks. That's like a poison rain type thing. And as that appears, that hits everybody for really big damage. So that's actually what we're stunning and bashing against. So we go through our same rotation: bash 1, ulti 1, bash 2, ulti 2, bash 3, ulti 3, and bash 4, ulti 4. We actually needed all 4 because we did a bad job stacking that 4th one, but oh well, they all died and we didn't. After Werewolf Behemoth Part 2, the fun really begins as we enter Phase 3, Run for Your Lives, 40% to 0%. It's 40% because Arkasis regenerates 28% of his health. And then he also activates Bound the Storm because apparently he is a Sork. The ads are going to come out around 38%, 30%, and 22%. There may be more ads if you burn too slowly, but I haven't confirmed this, nor do I want to confirm this. The run mechanic begins when Arkasis does a throw animation and puts lightning AoEs on the ground. I'll explain that more on the next slide. The DPS and the healer positioning, they should stand behind the boss, not off to the side, because the lightning AoEs are going to be put where the group members are. So if they're behind the boss, it will prevent the tank from having to roll through the lightning to join up with the other group members. When you aren't doing the run mechanic, Arkasis will do light attacks, heavy attacks, and a conal AoE. They can all be blocked, but roll dodging the heavy and the conal is always a good idea. Another ability that Arkasis uses after the run mechanic, and at other times as well, but not as frequently, he will randomly target somebody and charge at them, and he'll perform an AoE ability when he gets there. This should be blocked or roll dodged by everybody. You could even run out of the way, as he doesn't really read targets once he picks a location to run to. Adds should be burned after the run mechanic and ideally before the next run mechanic begins. Single target abilities here are better, as they'll prevent Arkasis from taking too much damage and bringing out another add. This is important because it's really hard to survive as the tank with 2 adds up. The healer and at least 1 DPS should have the barrier ultimate slotted on the back bar. Once the first run mechanic starts, a barrier should be activated by the healer. The DPS should activate barrier on the second run mechanic, and the healer again on the third. Ideally, Arkasis would be executed before a 4th run mechanic. This would allow the DPS to drop a damage dealing ultimate instead of saving for a barrier for a 4th run. So let's move on to talk about the run mechanic. Once you see Arkasis do the throw animation, you as the tank should activate Charging Maneuver to give everyone major and minor expedition, which is super important for this part of the fight. Everyone needs to start sprinting in the same direction to get as far ahead of the lightning AoEs as possible. While running as the tank, you should be with the group or slightly ahead of the group, while all the other group members should be stacked tightly together while they're sprinting. If there's an add up, you will ideally have already taunted it before this starts, but sometimes they spawn at the beginning of the phase if you push, so you'll need to range taunt it as soon as you're ahead of the lightning AoE. To make this even crazier, Arkasis is going to throw lightning on the entire group, pinning a random group member to the ground. It can be removed the same way as if you were activating a synergy. So what I like to tell everyone while they're sprinting, they just keep hitting the synergy button so the pins are instantly removed. This works really well, so just keep tapping the synergy as you're running and it'll instantly remove the pin as long as everybody is tightly grouped up. The run mechanic ends when the 3rd person is pinned. If somebody gets pinned when they're too far behind, save yourself. Do not try to unpin them. You'll go in lightning, it'll be bad, and then you'll have 2 people dead instead of one person dead. They can always be revived after the mechanic, so don't worry about them if they die. Alright, so let's see Run for Your Lives phase in action. So we just finished up the other werewolf phase, so now you can see Arkasis is charging himself back up to 40%, and now he's a Sork all of a sudden. So I'm going to taunt him. Eventually, my DPS and healer are going to line up opposite me so they don't screw me over. And then Arkasis is going to throw. There it is. And we had the add drop down, so I'm going to run over real quick and taunt it. I activated Charging Maneuver, and we're all running. Someone did get pinned there, but we were able to get to them in time. You're going to see another lightning splash. There it is. And someone just got pinned and unpinned. And then we continue. We'll have one more lightning splash that we need to unpin. It's going to hit me, and they're going to get me up just before I get heavy, so I was able to block it. Now he's going to charge at the group, and they blocked or roll dodged, and we're going to burn down this Durzog as fast as possible. We're going to try not to burn Arkasis to 30% because we don't want another add. We want to kill this one, and it's better to not have an add during run phase, but if we get it, we get it. And we're going to end up getting one. So I activate Charging Maneuver when he throws again, and we all take off. There's the lightning splash. I get unpinned. I see the add chasing me. Here comes another lightning splash. There it is, and we unpin Methodical. And now we're just going to run ahead a little bit, wait for that 3rd lightning splash, and we're going to unpin, and now we're going to burn down this Durzog. Again, as a reminder, after that lightning phase, he will charge randomly at a group member, so every group member needs to be prepared to block, roll dodge, or move out of the way. We're going to burn down that Durzog without burning Arkasis to 22%, which was the plan, because this is our first clear, and we wanted to avoid having extra mechanics during the run phase. So again, I activate Charging Maneuver, we all take off. Everything is well and good, and we are waiting for the pins to hit us. We actually are not grouped up very well, and Methodical dies, so we just leave him there. We're going to send our DPS to get him after this is over, because the healer should be on me. That way I don't randomly die from not having enough heals on myself. Alright, so we're all up, and we are going to push Arkasis to get the next ad out at 22%. Alright, so the ad has dropped and we're in for another run phase. It's critical that I taunt the Charis, because that's the one that we got. The Charis has a really big range on its attacks, so I don't want the Charis hitting anybody but me, because it will really hurt or probably kill them. Even though our stack is really bad here and we have lightning all over the place, somehow we managed to survive all 3 pins with nobody dying. And now we're going to burn this Charis down. Again, I am roll dodging out of its heavies because I don't need a dot on me. That sounds terrible. Alright, so the Charis has gone down, and we are going to get one last run phase. So again, I activate Charging Maneuver. I stay slightly ahead. Someone gets pinned, we free them, and now we're all nice and grouped up and ready for that next pin. There we go, and we've released it. And then we have one more pin coming, and then we're just going to drop all our ults on the boss and burn him down very rapidly. Of course, we're going to dodge his charge, hopefully. Yep, it's been dodged by me. It hit me, but that's not that big of a deal. And we're going to Colossus him and ulti dump him for anybody who hasn't used a barrier. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did and got a lot out of it, please like it, leave a comment. If you have some critiques or want something done differently in future videos, feel free to leave me a message. And please, above all, subscribe to my channel on tanking.